we integrate this through so many of the games we play. We often say for young children, it's all about the games they play. And as they're progressing in communication, building that connection and comfort, it's through play, it's through games, it's through gentle competition and fun, fun, fun. So we name the games and we have the different games and so forth. So I'm excited to kind of get into that. But I thought perhaps you could talk about the different types of play.
For sure. So, what's really interesting about play is there's actually not one singular definition of the word play. There's features that are present when somebody is playing. So, for instance, play is usually done for its own sake. Play is something that you often, when you're engaged in play, you sort of lose track of time. In psychology, we call that flow. You're super invested in that experience. Play is typically done for its own sake. There's not necessarily a goal that has to be achieved, and it's usually marked with joy and fun. But those are features. There's not actually a singular definition of play, which I find really interesting because there's been so much research on play, and yet we don't have a singular, universally agreed upon definition of play. It's one of those things where you sort of feel like when you see it, it's play. And that's especially true in young children. But I will say there's so many different kinds of play. So we talk about, especially with younger children, we talk about rough and tumble play. We talk about constructive play where they're building something, explorative play where they're literally exploring materials with their hands and the world around them. We sometimes talk about, unstructured or free play. And we talk about guided play. Dr. Kathy Hirsch-Pasek is a huge researcher in this area of guided play. And so there's many, many different types of play. They're all important and they all lend themselves to different kinds of development and learning outcomes.
Yeah, no, that's so helpful. And I'm thinking about all the different types of kids we work with. We have sensory kids. So sometimes that free, let it go, have fun, run around is all it may take sometimes with a few friends at home to progress into comfort, connection, and verbalization. Whereas others, they need much more of a structured situation. And I think for selective mutism, it isn't just be there and hope for the best and try to get them to talk. It's one, meeting them where they're at, and we use the social communication bridge to understand their stages. And then we start from that stage as their baseline and we facilitate higher. So that structured, facilitated, I say, don't wait, facilitate for parents to bring them in to facilitate social communication skills because many of the kids, Jody, won't just start to talk. So
Right.
they have to either young play through facilitation, and the older kids, they're way more cognitive about what they're doing through fun activities of interest.
Right. Right. No, that makes a ton of sense. And, you need to have that trust with the person that you're playing with. And play is a great way to facilitate that trust and to facilitate those, nonverbal communication cues as well.
Yeah, so share with me some of the different play you do for children that are anxious and have challenges integrating with others. Imagine you work with kids on the spectrum, right? To help them engage, facilitate. The social cues are tough. They don't necessarily read the room well sometimes, and they need, the play helps them. Do you have any specific play activities or games or nonverbal activities that you do with them to help them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, throughout my career working at, small and large children's media and toy companies, we typically have designed for the widest audiences possible. And yet we continuously hear from parents of children with particular needs or on the autism spectrum how important a lot of these experiences have been for them. And so one of the things that we learned that was really interesting is our app Homer, which is designed to help kids learn how to read. When we did a qualitative study where we provided Homer to many, many families and then interviewed the parents after to really understand what kind of learning outcomes they were observing in their kids. And what we had done is really give them access to the app and then, encourage them to have their kids play with the experiences in the app. But we weren't prescriptive about what they did or how long they spent in the app. But what was really interesting is we heard a lot of parents say that the app actually encouraged their children to feel more confident speaking or to say words that they'd never heard before. And I think that's because the experiences, as we mentioned, are so playful. They're low risk. There's not a lot of, wrong answer sound effects that might feel intimidating. It's more about scaffolding the experience and letting kids feel safe to try to say new words or to say words for the first time. We also hear a lot from families through our physical hands-on products like little passports that is something that works well with many different kinds of families because they get this box in the mail, and when you open the box there's a range of activities in there. There are activity pages for a child who just wants to sort of sit and be quiet or do something maybe on the go in the car. There's, word searches and, puzzles and riddles and new vocabulary and things to read. And then there's hands-on activities and things that families can actually build together. And some of the games are designed for more than one player, so it encourages that co-play. So there's a whole range of ways to play with the products that Begin offers, and other toys that I've designed over the years in my career. And it's really about helping families find what works for them and for their child, because every family, every child is unique.